Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
YFM.
Listen to YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 in Takoradi.
First of all, what sort of emotions does Liverpool anthem evoke in you? I saw it, but from the inside, how does it feel?
You have no idea of what it makes me feel. It always brings like a lump in my throat. I must be honest with you. When I hear the anthem, it's the best anthem in the world, and it's best sung by Liverpool fans. There are some other teams that also sing it. Dortmund sings it, Celtic sings it, but nobody does it better than the Liverpool fans.
Wow. How long have you supported the club?
Since I was 3 years old, and I'll be 50 this year. So you can do the math.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so 47 years.
Have you watched any of their matches live?
Oh,
from
Anfield.
Yes.
Reveskin, since 2006, I've tried to visit Anfield at least once every season since 2006.
Wow.
I was last at Anfield on 7th March 2020, just before they locked down London, and
before
I escaped.
The lockdown.
So I was at Anfield on 7th March 2020. Liverpool Bournemouth. We won 2-0.
Do you think it's fair if we call you the most loyal Liverpool supporter in Ghana?
I don't think so. There are some more crazy guys out there. I mean, there's Nia Futu, Junior Due, Carl Tofor, Kwame Banwako. I mean, they are guys. I'm one of them, but I will have to give respect to some of my seniors.
It be so.
Yeah, it be so.
Liverpool memorabilia do you have? This morning when we're setting up, I think I could see a few behind you. How many do you have?
If you want to talk about memorabilia, I have enough to fill a whole shop. I must be honest. You see behind me, there's a whole shrine behind me. I don't know if the camera is picking it up well, but I have scarves, footballs, pens, toothbrush. I have my toothbrush. Do you see my toothbrush?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I have pens, key rings, scarves. A whole lot. I have this is our anthem book. So this is the book with all our anthems in them that we can sing. So that's why I was singing the song so easily.
Wow, I'm very impressed.
I mean, I have enough to fill a shop, to be honest.
Enough to fill a shop.
Yes.
I've seen fans of soccer teams here in Ghana, but never have I met someone who is so deep into the team so much that I mean, you feel like you were. Do you ever feel like you were supposed to be like a footballer?
Actually, yes. I used to play. I still play. I mean, these days, COVID has stopped me from going to the field. But I've been playing football for a long time. Only that in the 70s and the 80s, it wasn't as lucrative, and we just played, for the fun of it. And I don't regret it because if you look at the players who played in that generation. They are not as wealthy as the current generation, and football has a finite lifespan. I mean, you can't play beyond, really beyond 35. They are the outliers. They're the Ibrahimovics and co. They play till 45, 49, but it has a short span. So I don't regret it. But maybe if I was in this current generation, I may have pursued it.
You might become a football player. Those are all the good moments you share with the team, but have you had days where the team loses to matches and it messes your day up?
Oh, plenty. Plenty. Don't forget, Rev, we didn't win the title for, is it 18 or 19 years? 30 years, sorry. We didn't win the title for 30 years. So you can imagine the amount of trolling that we've had to stomach. And it just kills me if any team can beat us, but not United. I mean, if United beat us, it just kills my soul. And there was this year, I was at Anfield and Patrice Evra came and scored us 1-0. And I had traveled all the way to Anfield to watch Liverpool United only to lose 1-0. I think it was in 2009, if I recall. That day, how to even get back to London on the train was another whole wahala matter. But Yeah, there are times when Liverpool lose, it really hurts me. There are several times like that. I really go down.
Wow. And I'm sure, let me just borrow your words. You have to stomach a lot of trolling when you go back to Ghana.
Even while you're on the flight, people are laughing at you. Charlie, the money like we take go jam, like maybe better. This money you go spend, go buy ticket, go Anfield. Like you give us make we take blow time for you. You know that kind of thing. Plenty.
Yeah, I know.
But it's all good. It's all good.
Anyways, it's all good. It's just a part of life. I like the top you're wearing, by the way. It's also a Liverpool club,
Yes, it is.
paraphernalia, right?
Yes, it is. Because since we changed to Nike, this is a New Balance, but since we changed to Nike, COVID came in. I haven't had the chance to go to Anfield to get my stuff. So we'll have to either order it online or something. But this was one of the very good ones that New Balance did for us. I really like them.
Right. And I heard on the side you love Formula One as well.
Yes, actually, I also I
Wow.
also have gone to watch a few races in Singapore and Malaysia. I really follow Formula One a great deal. I'm a Mercedes fan. I love the car.
Lewis Hamilton.
And yes, actually, I'm not just a Hamilton fan, but I'm a Mercedes fan. There are some people who jump from car to car depending on who the driver is. I will admit I used to love Schumacher too, but I'm a Merc fan, irrespective of who is behind the wheel. It's always Mercedes. But yes, I do travel to watch Formula One, and I'm part of the team here, Kwabena Poku and Co, who organize the view parties. Again, COVID has hit us hard, but we still try and organize social distancing ones in Labadi and at the DSTV office. So I love sports. I mean, I love any sport. There are a lot of sports I love. The few I don't understand are the American ones. I still haven't figured out American football though.
So let's get straight to business now. Let's say we're reading the Kojo Addae-Mensah story. Chapter 1, first page. Where do we begin from? Where did life start for you? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up on Legon campus. That's where life actually really began. Though I must say, when I was born, my parents were living in Kwabena. At that time, the atomic energy, it wasn't anything like you guys know right now. It was a forest, and a few of the Legon lecturers had bungalows in there. But not long after I was born, we left onto the Legon campus. So that's where life actually began. My primary school was at the University Primary. And so that's where I was. My dad was a lecturer and rose to become the vice chancellor at Legon at some point in time. And so all my environment was academia. I had academia all around me, all the way through University Primary. But at a point when I was 10 years old, at that time, my dad had veered into politics. So there was a coup and he had to go into exile. And so we had to move out of Legon campus. So by the time I was in my teenage years, we had moved down to my grandfather's house in Asylum Down. And that is where I think I started learning how to be streetwise, to be honest, because the Legon campus is very well protected, and even today it's too busy. In our time, you will barely even see a car drive through. We'll be playing in the streets and all our parents are looking over our shoulders. It was very protected. Then you move out to an area like Asylum Down, where you've come from Legon, a protected area, and your dad is not there. You're living with only your mom. There's Kokomlemle on one side, there's Nima on the other side, there's Kanda there. The Kanda Highway didn't used to be there. That was where we used to dump rubbish, and so I had my secondary education while I was living in Asylum Down, but I went up to St. Peter's to do my O-levels, and then came back into Accra Academy to do my A-levels. So at that time, I was a day student living in Asylum Down and going to school in Accra through Circle, Carnation. I'm glad it happened. I always say that coup d'etat that took my dad away, I saw it as a blessing more than as a curse, because it really got me to understand what real life was and what, taking a taxi from here to Circle. If I was living in Legon and my dad was around, trust me, I would likely have ended up in Motown or Presec, you know, and then I'll be taken to school just down the road and back, and then ended up in Legon. It means I wouldn't have gone more than, you know, a 5-mile radius in my whole life. And so I was quite happy that, yeah, I got that experience through Accra Academy before I ended up at the University of Ghana. So that my early life was on campus in Legon area, but my teenage life up to almost my adult life was in Asylum Down area and its environs. When my dad came back from exile, I was about to enter first year. So we went back onto campus. But at that time, I had already grown up.
And so from the time your daddy left until he came back before first year, or when you were in the first year, you guys never communicated whatsoever?
Oh, no. We did. I mean, even in '83, when there was curfew and all, we would go and get special chits and special permission. At that time, he was in Cote d'Ivoire, and fly to visit him in Cote d'Ivoire for a couple of weeks and come back. He moved on to Germany. So, I mean, like I say, it was a real blessing. So we started having flight experience very, very early on in life, going into Europe, going to Germany, going to Holland, you know, visiting him and his brothers over there. He came back to Kenya as well. So every holiday we'll visit him, irrespective of where he finds himself. So, but it wasn't the same. You know, when you're on holiday, everybody wants to be nice. Everybody wants to be happy. There's no, discipline going on, you know. So we are all trying to make the most of the short time we have. So it was our mom now who was our disciplinarian. But Poppy, when it's time to go and visit him, it was mostly fun. But yeah, we visited him. At least almost every holiday, at least two of us will go, yeah, with our mom.
Okay. You mentioned St. Peter's. I'm quite interested in thinking about that. How were your days there like? And what kind of student were you?
Sorry?
What kind of students were you?
If you are talking academics, I was a very average student. Maybe I'll say I was a slightly below average student, at least during my time in St. Peter's. Maybe because I was surrounded by too many brilliant people. Those guys were sharp brain, man. I couldn't match up to them. But so I was quite an average or below average student if it comes to the academics. With the non-academics, I was very participatory. I'll do every sporting activity. We would do whatever activity there is. We'll go to the school farm. It was fun being in St. Peter's. In our time, things like water was a problem, so we had to experience how to go get water. Our teachers were not very keen to come to St. Peter's because there were no facilities there. So some of my colleagues would teach each other. But I think I was obedient. I don't think I ever got suspended or got into any kind of trouble like that. So that would be how I'll describe myself, at least at St. Peter's.
One thing I can tell you is, you see, the last part, nobody will say they were a bad student, you know. At this point, I wish I had maybe some of your mates to actually call in and tell me what kind of student Kojo was. Because behavior-wise, I don't think I was bad. I'm not sure. You were never punished. You were never given a piece of land to weed whatsoever.
No, if that one WXP will just say maybe a group of the whole house we did something wrong. Then WXP will send all of us to go and weed. But it won't be an individual thing. You can call some of my friends. I mean, my juniors. I don't know if Oswald is listening, you know, and the likes. I wouldn't punish. I didn't take delight in bullying. No, not at all.
You didn't do none of that. Did you go by any nickname back in St. Peter's?
They used to when I was about to finish, they used to call me Azito Way. They said I used to look like somebody called Azito Way. So when we go for old boys meeting, at least over there they will call me Azito Way. But it's not something that got sustained and got through to my adult life. I hope this interview doesn't let people stop.
No, people won't start calling you. At least your colleagues at work, they can't call you. I know tomorrow in the morning you serve them letters saying anybody that calls me Azito West.
Yeah.
Did you have any grand aspirations around that time? Did you have a fair idea where you wanted to go career-wise?
As for at O-level time, I would say, it was the normal pilot, doctor, those fancy things. And I was a science student at O-level, so I did science at O-level. But after I bombed the O's and I couldn't really get the grades that would get you into either, to continue science, I switched. When I came to Accra, I switched into economics. I did French, geography, government. I did four subjects instead of the normal 3, just for backup. Okay. I was thinking I'll get an F in French, but thankfully I didn't. And so when I got to sixth form, I started realizing that the science route was not going to be my route. And still at that time, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going or I wanted to do. I was just going through the motions. Maybe at Accra, at that point, I was a bit of a bad student. I'll admit that by the time I got to sixth form, then the badness had come in. I was beginning to know how to, I was a day student, so no restrictions like that. When you are going, you stop at a bar, you are going home in your uniform, stop at a bar, do this. Wow. Then night clubbing started coming inside. All that was beginning to come. So I was just going through the motions, go to school, study, come. Then getting close to A-level, I realized that, hey, Kojo, if you don't sit up, something is going to happen to you. And
life will beat you.
And Poppy had started coming home slowly. So the strictness too was coming slowly. So I sat up. And thankfully, I passed the A-level barely to get into economics at Legon. Then I started feeling I may like to be an economist. So it's at the university that I started having an aspiration. Before that, it was a fancy doctor, pilot thing that we all say or to ourselves when we are growing up. But I started thinking I would like to be an economist. Sorry?
I said around that time, you were just basically making the grades and surviving.
Yes, that is exactly what it was. But when I finished my first degree, I told you I grew up in academia. My dad and his brother, my dad has 2 brothers, all professors. So there's no conversation around stopping school to go and work and come back. That is not a conversation we have in the Addae-Mensah house. No way. You have to finish at least a master's before you start thinking of anything else. So when I finished economics, I knew that I wanted to do a master's. So I applied for both economics and finance. I got admitted to both in Legon, but I decided to try something else and I moved into finance. So again, by the time I was finishing finance, then my aspiration was quite molded. At that point, I knew I wanted to do investment banking because I really enjoyed the lessons I was taking in the finance class. So my aspiration was
when you got
fully formed by the time I was doing my master's. But before then, I think I was just going through the motions.
Were you given any special treatment for being an Addae-Mensah? Because this was you coming back to where you grew up years after. Or people
actually,
who were there at that time didn't know who you were?
No, I went through school without people even knowing that was my dad. I tell you, I can be a very good boy. Oh. I don't need to throw my weight about at all. But it brings an extra burden. You are in school, your dad is the head of department or the dean of science or something like that. The last thing you want is for his name to be pointed to say, your son, and professor's son did this, and the professor's son is bombing, and the professor's son is not serious. So it brings an extra burden onto me to make sure that everything is pepe. Nobody is going to give me any extra advantage or anything. Some of my lecturers even didn't know that I was related to him to do anything of that sort. And the onus was on me to ensure that I kept his name intact.
Now, between your Bachelor of Economics degree and MBA from the University of Ghana, you must have gotten your career up and running some way. At what point in there did you begin with investment banking, as you mentioned? Was that your first? Was that the field where you found your first job?
Yeah, so I found my first job after my MBA, after the finance. So I didn't work in between. The only work I did was national service, and I don't really consider that as real work. I mean, so I had to do the national service before I went back to do the masters, but I went straight. Some of my colleagues started working, making money, buying cars already, but I had to go straight back into school. But yes, immediately after the MBA, I got my first job, and guess where it was? Rev, can you guess? Guess where my first job was?
Oh, Stanchart, sponsored by.
Oh, okay. So I got
Liverpool.
I got you there. My first job was actually right here at Data Bank in '98. Immediately I left school, Ken and Kelly were gracious enough to give me my first real job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this
do you remember your salary, your first salary?
I had a letter, 580 CDs or something. I had a letter in my drawer not long ago. I've taken it home. I think it was 580 CDs.
Are you? No, I'm confused.
Equivalent.
That's like how much the national service personnel take these days, right?
Yes, something close to that. And
Let me ask
I was
this question,
coming out
right?
with a master's.
Wow. Wait, so the first day I work at Data Bank, when you, not even your first day, let's say your first month, after you received your first 580 Ghana cedis, did you ever see yourself coming so far to be in this position like CEO of the group?
Your question again.
I said, after you received your first salary or the first moment you started working there at Data Bank, did you ever picture a moment where you'd actually become group CEO?
Never
cross your mind that could
never,
happen?
Never. Listen, at the time, I was surrounded by people who had all been educated in the US, had gone to Motown, that kind of thing. I never ever thought that I would be where I am, and I've learned a lot of lessons out of it. It never occurred to me. I won't lie about that. It never occurred to me. I was just a young analyst who was hungry to learn and succeed in whatever it is that I was doing.
So, Alan, at what point radio and TV come in? Because I found out you were a pundit at some points.
Yes.
You had taken it serious at some point.
Yes. It was my passion and hobby, but people thought, still people think I'm even a sports journalist by training, man. I'm not. But that started in 2000. By 2000, I'd moved to Stanchart though. And, Herbert Mensah had just come into Kotoko with all the, hula baloo around it. And I bought into his philosophy. I bought into his passion. I bought into everything he was doing. And so I decided that I wanted to help him. And he was a media man. He established a newspaper. So I started off by writing letters. I was writing to the letters column. And then I had a conversation with Apollo, who was the editor then, Cognando. And I said, look, I can throw in an article or two. He said, yeah. I asked him how many words. He gave me. Then I wrote it. I think my first proper article was after a game with Ash Gold or something. And it just moved on from there. And I then started also being invited to radio. So I recall my first radio appearance, I think was on Choice FM those days. So I started going to Choice FM. So at 11 o'clock, I'll be at Choice FM. Then by 1 o'clock, I'm at Radio Gold. Then at 3 o'clock, I'm at Vibe FM. Then sometimes I'll come to Joy FM at 10, and then I'll go to Radio Gold at 2, and then I'll go to Vibe FM, or I'll go to Top Radio at 11. I was going all over the place on radio, and I was being told that I was speaking well and speaking intelligently, so why not?
Kojo, and if I'm not mistaken, all these came without salary. These were
as for the media, I've done it pro bono forever. I've never taken a dime out of my media work. Not a dime. I wrote for Kotoko from from 2000 to 2014, at least to 2014-15, I didn't take a dime. In fact, sometimes I would have to help pay some, debts that the newspaper had. When I go on radio and TV, I really don't take anything. I will admit, sometimes GTV, because of the way the public service works, they will insist that you have to come and really, sign for it and all that. But you know how much it is. You would use it to help others immediately. So I've done media pro bono all my life. I've never earned income out of media work. No, not at all.
Kojo, between God and man, if you're to have a son like yourself, have so much passion for media work on the side when they have their main grind and there's no salary coming, would you allow them? Would you encourage them?
I'll more than allow them. You know what, Reveskin, let me tell you something. Media is very powerful, and you're a media man, it's extremely powerful. And I will admit that media has helped my mainstream career a great deal. It breaks a lot of ice. Sometimes you're going to introduce yourself, maybe you want to talk to somebody about a proposal you have or something like that. We start off with football. We start off with oh, I know you. I've seen you on TV. Oh, I heard you on radio. The other day, you were talking about this. Then it breaks the ice, and then it makes life easier. So I'll never stop. And when I was appointed CEO in 2014, I put it to you, I have very tight friends who said, Charlie Kojo, right now you be CEO, that radio and TV things you go do, you for stop. And I told them that, no, this is when I'm even going to increase it. I know the time will be tight, but I will do it at every opportunity. Any station that asks for my time to talk about either finance or sports or whatever it is, I will jump onto it. I will not hesitate to take it. So it's not, I really would encourage him to do the media big time. And if he can make money out of it, why not? I mean, there are different levels of media. There are people who have made millions out of it. Now, Larry King is a media person. John Voss is media. Becky Anderson, all of them are there. They have made millions and millions. Reveskin is up and coming. He's going to be a billionaire soon. So why not?
I tap into that. Since we brought family in, let's dive a little bit into your family life. Did your family orientation and growth environment back then contribute in any way to the sort of family you wanted to raise growing up?
I will say yes, to the extent that I knew for sure that I wasn't going to be a father who would dabble in politics and get into exile. Because I want to be there for my son. It wasn't my dad's fault that he couldn't be there all the time for us, but he just had to go into exile to save his life or whatever it was. And I know the slippery slope that it took me down. I could have been, I mean, at sixth form, I was uncontrollable. I mean, I will go out when I want and come back when I want. And, my mom was too busy trying to make ends meet to feed four of us. There are four of us, and I was the first. And yes, I'm sure Poppy was sending down some money here and there, but she's on the ground. She's the one having to make sure things are happening. And his son, who is close to 18 in sixth form, is an adult enough to sort himself out. And I could have just slipped, honestly. And I think if my dad was there, first of all, I would have ended up in Asylum Down. And to be able to be mixing with all those characters that we were mixing with through Adabraka, Nima, Kokomlemle, Kanda, in anytime virus. I'm not saying that they are all bad, but yeah, it made me tough. I think it toughened me quite well, but it could have gone totally the opposite direction. Yeah. So I think that to the extent that my dad was in exile for quite my teenage years, that I knew I would want to be around. So, and it's one of the reasons I've not been attracted to living abroad. I've wanted to live in Ghana and raise the boy here in Ghana so that he has some Ghanaianism in him, kakra, before if you go out, he can go out. Like because my siblings, all my siblings are out of Ghana and all their kids don't have a clue what it means to be a Ghanaian.
And so you are the Ghana boy in the family.
I'm the Ghana boy in the family. I'm the first. I'm the first, and I'm the one who has stayed around.
I like that. Kojo, you seem like a very busy man. I mean, combining your managerial work, your sports life, your interest in certain sports and all that, and then of course family life. How do you balance both? And do you sometimes feel like you could do more?
Oh, as for more, you can always do more. But and I will if my wife is listening to me, I would admit that I don't always try, and I'm quite selfish. If I want to do what I want to do, I'll do what I want to do. You know, unlike those who would say, "Oh, because of the family, then I'll dog this one and then go and do that." So I'm not that kind of person. I'll do what I really want to do and do it. So I have a bit of selfishness in me. But that said, pre-COVID, what I will do in the year is most definitely in August, I will take a break from everything, and then we'll take a holiday. And I'll take my son to Stamford Bridge if we're in London. He's Chelsea.
Okay.
So I'll take him there. But August, for sure, we will take a break. We'll take a holiday. Either it's me and my son, or all of us, or at least I'll let them go if I can. That's for sure. So pre-COVID, every August, some holiday will happen where you know that you've broken off all sorts of things. But since last year, no movement. And we haven't done any local tourism either. But I think now I go home a bit more often than at first. I think. So
there's not much to do. I mean, you don't have to sit out with the guys to maybe drink beer.
Exactly. You as if you know the deal. You know, like after work, you go sit down and chat and talk. You know, till 9-10 p.m. Friday night there. As for Friday night, you know, you come home on Saturday morning. You know, all that has gone away now. So I find myself at home a bit more often than I used to, which is cool. Which is cool.
You mentioned that when you had the switch to go live at Asylum Down and the rest of the places that you lived at, you learned a lot of lessons. I mean, growing up. What are some of the lessons out of these you try to instill in your boy? I mean, tell us, for the sake of, I mean, we the newly married ones, the ones expecting to raise families and that, what are some of the things that you try to instill in your young one, so they grow with?
While they are in school, it's always good to make sure that the focus is on the academics, because the academics will definitely take you through the door. It's the academics that will take you through the door. The street life won't take you through the door. So as for the academics, you shouldn't joke with it. I feel I was quite lucky. I was always borderline. I was always just making it. Yeah. The world has changed. You can't just make it anymore. You need to excel in your academics really, really well to get through the door. So that part, I still try and instill in him. In fact, my wife does a better job at that, and credit to her, but we need to still instill. Then we have conversations. I do have conversations with him where he tends to ask me, so, you know, what is it like to be CEO? How did I become that CEO? And I say it's about hard work and knowing what it is that you want and working towards it. It doesn't just come. It's not given to you on a silver platter. Anything you are doing, do it and do it very well. My dad also used to tell me that, Kojo, and I don't know whether he was telling me the truth as a professor and a scientist. He says, Kojo, I really don't mind what you become in the future. Just make sure that whatever you become, you are the best at what you become. And I asked him, so Papa, into make person me proud, okay. I say, yeah, if you want to be a street sweeper, that's fine. It's okay. Make sure you are the best street sweeper. And Reveskin, you know who I see in that? You know who I see in what my dad told me then many years ago? Zoom Lion.
No.
Technically speaking, he's a street sweeper, but he's the best street sweeper we have, isn't it? Exactly.
That's true.
So when I say if you want to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper, I'm not saying go and take a broom and go and stand by the road and sweep. Think exactly. You got it. You got it. You just got it. So whatever he wants to do, I will encourage him to do it and be the best at what it is he does. I'm not going to be the kind of dad. My dad wasn't the kind of dad who whipped us into line to say, by all means do this, by all means do that. what he did was made sure that at O level we all did science, because he believed that doing science will give you that analytical brain to move into the world. So that would be what
I feel good about this particular bit of our conversation, because I think a few years ago, somewhere around 2013, I had the same conversation with my mom. And so I also had the privilege of growing up in a home that didn't go super strict on what you wanted to become. So I was at crossroads. I didn't know whether to drop geography or political science or economics out of the three that I did in uni. Okay. I think this was 2012. Yes, I remember. And so I called my mom, and honestly, my mom didn't get the education I had or I have. So she told me, listen, I don't know what you want to become. I don't know what you're really good at, because I'm not in school with you. But whatever it is that you choose, make sure you become the best at it. So if you choose to go and do swimming in school, make sure you just guard it well. Invest all your time and whatever it is that you can add to it and get to the top with it. I mean, I want to come back to you 5 years after that and see you as the best swimmer, or the best swimming coach, or the best sweeper, as you mentioned in your own words. It's just very good. I mean, it's super inspiration to a lot of people out there. Maybe some people might not have the opportunity of getting learned people or their parents or their family members to tell them this, but if you find yourself at any point you have to make a decision in what you want to become. Make sure you become the best of what you choose. Just become the best of it. We're not saying go in there and accumulate, or just become the best, so that when they call for painters in the school, they know we're going in for Asari the painter, because it's very, very good. Thank you for that.
Precisely.
Now, the next question is a question I borrowed from your son. How did you become CEO? A few minutes ago, you told us how you started at Data Bank. Now you're Group CEO. Take us through the ranks. We have time. Tell us where you had to move, which stages you got to, the challenges you faced. I mean, let's break it all down.
Okay, so that's a cool one. Like I said, I started on 98 here at Data Bank. At that time, we were at the Smith Tower block. We went at the Braca premises. I did 2 years there. And to be honest, it was what I wanted to do. I had established the fact that I wanted to do investment banking. I loved finance. And it started well, 98, 99. There was I don't know if you guys remember, but the government was doing its privatization drive, where they were offloading shares government had in certain companies onto the stock market. So there was a lot of activity going on the stock market. So, IPOs were happening, that's initial public offerings were happening, valuations were happening, analysis was happening. So it was getting vibrant. But towards the end of 99, beginning of 2000, the work was drying up. I was in the corporate finance department. The work was drying up a bit. We'll come to work and we'll be twiddling our fingers, be like that, and trying to find something to do. I wasn't beginning to enjoy that. And my conscience was not even really cool that I'll come to work, sit down for 8 hours and not do much and still take a paycheck at the end of the month. I wasn't too cool about it. So I started looking out for other things to do. And then I got the application through to Standard Chartered. I went through a few interview hoops. And even then, when I was going into Standard Chartered, I thought I was going as a relationship manager. That time, that was the in thing. It was the sexy job on the market. RM, yeah, the RM thing. And in 2000, RM was a big deal. In fact, they were calling them personal financial advisors or some fancy name like that. But just when I got in, Mrs. Hatchfield, then the head of HR, said, they had a problem in credit operations. They needed people there. So would I like to take up the credit ops job rather? I said, well, okay, no problem. So I went into credit operations, and that's how come my life in banking operations actually started. A few of my friends did laugh at me that, you are somebody, you do econs, you do finance, like that. They come from Data Bank, then the operations they can't do. Because then in banking operations, there were not too many fancy people there. But I went in and I started enjoying the job, and I started doing it very well, understanding what it was. And because I could relate to the RMs and I could relate to what they want and how they go into the markets to go and sell and come back and make sure that we operationalize it, I think I started getting quite good at it. I started getting very good at the operations, banking operations, credit operations, trade operations, payment operations, all the operational things I was learning on Standard. Standard really taught me a lot. And then, maybe because of how well I was doing it, Stanchart started getting me out of Ghana to go and, you know, put my skills out there to other Stanchart subsidiaries, you know. So I was traveling a lot. I was really traveling a lot. Sierra Leone, Nairobi, you know, South Africa, Zimbabwe. We were going all over the place. India. I spent almost 8 months in India, you know, when we were trying to change systems, and all. So I did almost, and then I was posted to Botswana. In my last years, I was posted to Botswana / South Africa. So my family moved there. Actually, my son was born in Botswana. So at 18, he'll decide whether he wants to be a Botswana or he wants to be a Ghanaian. But trust me, if he doesn't speak the language, there's no way they'll accept him there. So I know he's Ghanaian, that's for sure. So yeah, I did almost 10 years in Standard Chartered, and then I started looking out again. I think I'd served my due, and then I had Barclays were looking out for some role. So I applied for the CEO role in Barclays, and I went through a lot of interviews, you know, in Dubai, in all sorts of places. And God being so good, I got the role. So I went into Barclays, now ABSA, and did 2 years there as well. And people don't believe there's reverse skin. And I'd like to use your great platform to tell the youth this story about how I got into GCB. You know, I was sitting at my desk at Barclays one morning, reading the newspaper, you know, flipping through a bit. And I got a call from a friend, Tony. Tony said, Kojo, there's some adverts in the graphic that I think you should look at. And I said, okay, no problem. So I flipped through. I think I still have the newspaper at home. I flipped through it and started reading. It was a KPMG advert for a CEO role. And I was just reading the thing. And I was reading myself. Every line I'll read, I said, but this is me. But this is me. Like the requirements they were looking for. I said, this is me, this is me, this is me. Why don't I apply? I didn't know which company it was. I didn't know who it was, whatever it was. But I applied. And then a few days later, KPMG called me, for an interview. I went in room of, you know, big shots, people I knew, people of my father's stature, you know, Dr. Pebby and co sitting there, you know, Winful and them, big men. That will intimidate any Tom, Dick, and Harry. But I faced them, went through that. Then before I found out that, after I went through that loop, I found out that the interview was actually a GCB interview. You know, and that's the point at which I got to know the application I had put in was a GCB application, and I was now interviewing for CEO for GCB. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is the youth listening to us, they always think to get into a place like that, you need a connection. You need some father figure. You need some, you know, somebody to hold your hand. I disagree. And I vehemently disagree. Nobody held my hand to Stanchart. Nobody held my hand to Barclays. They will tell me that those are international institutions, so that's one they will understand. But how about GCB? It was an interview, and I went to 2 interviews. One with the remuneration subcommittee, and then the next one with a full board. And that time, Kojo Thompson was board chairman at GCB. You know, and went through the rigor of the interview and got it, and went in and decided I was going to apply myself to the best of my ability. Sadly, you know, Ghanaians politicize everything. You know, I'll say something very quickly. When I was at GCB, NDC was in power, right? That was Mills's time. And those of us at the top, we were all branded and painted that, oh, these people, they are all NDC people. That's why they got the job. It's sad. Wow. It's very sad. I don't know why we think that way. And we can't give people merit. Today, I'm sitting at Data Bank as CEO. Oh, he's an MPP boy. That's why they put him there. Can you imagine? So now where am I? Why can't I be a professional?
Branded an NDC guy.
Exactly. So Ghanaians, there are people like us who are professionals and are out there to do a professional job for the good of the country. Like That's what I want to tell people. We are just there to do a good job for the good of the country. Anyway, so I stepped on broken bottles and eggshells in GCB. It wasn't an easy place to maneuver, but God being so good, I did the 2 years there. And I was there one fine day. I got a call. I got a call that, hey, Kojo, How are you? I said, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. Oh, Charlie, can you meet us? I think at Captain Hook or something, just to have a conversation. This was Kelly. So we went there together with the headhunter. There was a headhunter too, partial. And they said, oh, we've been following your career since you left us, I said, really? Since 2000? So yeah, we've been following you. And we think it's time for you to come and take over the reins. I said, oh, how?
It's time to come back home.
Come back home. I said, me, really? And it was like, wow, me of all the people in the world that Ken and Kelly could pick. I said, okay, I'll think about it. It's okay. And I tell you what, anytime I'm moving, I tell my dad that, oh, this is where I'm going. When I was going to GCB, he was vehemently against me. No, Kojo, I know what they did to Ken Owusu, my good friend. As for GCB, it's a terrible place. Then when I was coming back to you, say, are you sure? You've left this big company now, and now you want to go. Anyway, so I told Kelly that, yeah, I will really think about it. And then I got another call from Ken again to come over to have a conversation. And I thought it was an honor, Reveskin. This was no more about remuneration and what's the package. And that was not the conversation. The conversation was, why me and what it is that they want for the firm, and it was like they've been following my career throughout, and they think I've been pressing all the right buttons as I've gone along, and they believe I'm somebody who can come and take up the mantle that they were leaving, because now they were going. Kelly was going full-time to enterprise. Ken was going to full-time politics. He was resigning everything, dropping everything. Can you imagine the shoes they were giving me to fill in?
A very big one to fill.
It was huge. But it just goes to speak to the fact that when you are working, and I'm talking again to the youth, when you are working, you have a job and you are doing it. You are not doing it for the owner of the company. You are doing it for yourself. You don't have to be whipped to do the job. If somebody is not looking over your shoulder, still do it as if somebody is looking over your shoulder. Imagine I was lazy at Stanchart. I was a failure at Stanchart. I didn't leave them on a good note. I was a failure at Barclays. I didn't leave them on a good note. I went to GCB and messed up and got corrupt and got mixed up in all those things that happened. They would never have called me back. Or even in 2000 when I was leaving, imagine I slammed a resignation letter like in their face and said, take your job. After all, Stanchart be big. No, that's not how I left. That's not how I left. The way you apply for into a company, even the way you leave it should be even more cordial than the way you get in. So I got called. We chatted. It took at least 8 months from the first call to me finally leaving, because I also didn't want to burn my bridge at GCB. I still hear some people saying, we want you back, but I'm happy where I am right now. I'm very happy where I am right now. I have a 100% freedom to do what I believe is in the best interest of the firm.
Of the company.
Shareholders don't call me every morning to say, hey, do this, do that. I have a free hand. Me and my team have a free hand. We do have various boards that we report to every quarter, and we do a professional job. So if to sum it up, I think how I got back here as CEO was my consistent hard work, a desire for excellence, integrity, humility, honesty, transparency, all that works. And that, I think, got me back into the chair. It's a huge chair,
that's a very beautiful story. That's a very beautiful story. And we appreciate the fact that you took time to share all that with us, including the details. I'm gonna try and find out. The conversation between you and Ken, when the appointment came, I realized you wanted to just clear that part off. But let me just rephrase that bit. In your candid opinion, right? What is the most important personal trait a person in your position must have in order to be able to superintend over a group of big companies like what you're heading now? companies that have a long-standing track record in investment banking in a lot, what are the personal traits people should look out for? Because you mentioned the conversation was not even about package or money whatsoever. It was with what you could do for them. And so what are some of the things people should long for in their personal traits in order to fill positions like what you have?
In no particular order, right? But for starters, I'll start with humility. And if I sit in the boardroom with my team right now, I mean, okay, now we sit on Zoom, but allow me pre-COVID time, okay? And you look on your left, you look on your right, and these are all serious brains that you are having a conversation with. And as CEO, you are not humble enough to accept that you don't know it all. And in fact, they probably know it better than you do. And you have to be ready to take the criticism and take the correction and look at it objectively. It doesn't take away the fact that you are still the CEO. But if you are not humble enough to accept it, and you think you are know it all, and you bulldoze your way and say, no, you don't, I have 25 years experience, blah, blah, and beat your chest, you fail. So you must be very humble to accept that there are people who are experts in their field. Maybe I will consider myself a generalist. I've gone through the mail, so I have a view of everything around the table, but they are their individual subject matter experts. So humility, if you don't have it, you can pretend, but there are times where it will show. A passion for excellence should be not compromised. And I mean, as for excellence, people define it in many ways. But there's a quote, if I got it right, that mediocrity is okay until excellence shows up, something like that. And we can't take it for granted. In Ghana, we don't strive for excellence. It's like we abhor excellence and adore mediocrity. It's something that beats my mind. Why do you abhor excellence? And Red, I'm sure you've heard of cases where maybe you are taking a wall measurement or something, and the thing has sheared like 2 inches, and then you are told, by you to this 2 inches spare that you are using to make plenty noise, and you want to break the whole thing down because of 2 inches. That 2 inches could break the building down.
The entire building.
Yes, that is what I mean by trying to strive for excellence. No room for error. And prior to our thing here, you could hear me and Jillian fighting and all that. This is what I talk about: being humble enough to accept what your subordinate or colleague is telling you to do, and not saying no, get off my back, get off. Minute details like that, so that our shot that we have, that people are looking at, is perfect. You get me? To the extent that people don't know that we've had to change my shirt, and it's all about the excellence. I could have decided to tell your producers that, look, you either take the white or you leave it. But no, we didn't. We actually changed our minds and found a way. So we need excellence and then integrity. Look, in my last 3 roles that I have had, CEO Barclays, CEO GCB Bank, and CEO Data Bank, if I want to be corrupt and not be a man of integrity and amass wealth, you are sure that I can do it.
Yes.
It's not even in my DNA. I can't even phantom it, but you must have that level of integrity, because people think that when they are in the middle management, and they can afford to take something small, but when they get to the top and they are earning some big bucks, then they can afford to say no. I promise you, if you are a middle manager, it will stay with you. It will be a habit. You will be taking 2,000 there. When you get to the top, you will be asking for 2 million. You need integrity. To an exceptional, in Ghana, there is to an exceptional level, because corruption is a fashion in Ghana. I'm sad to say. But if you are not corrupt, you are stupid. You are said to be stupid. And I've been told that in my face a few times. But you fool. This thing is on the table. You take it and deal with it and sort your future out. It won't sort my future out. Money that comes so easily, it will go easily. Then my future will be basa. So the traits: humility, excellence, integrity, those 3 there. honestly, you can't afford not to have it. You must have all three. 110%.
Kojo, you mentioned that you spend around 8 hours at work every day. I think that was prior to COVID, right?
And that was, yeah, prior to COVID, and more even prior to data bank. But yeah, Standard Chartered more than that, 20 something hours a day. But yeah, averagely.
So these days, how is your regular day at job like?
You see, because these days in COVID times, I still try and come to the office.
I like the way you just laid back.
I like to try and come to the office, mainly because maybe I'll be having these Zoom meetings and the like, and my son is doing his Zoom school as well. So, and I also like to just come and keep an eye on what is actually happening here, even though more than 80% of the staff are at home, working from home. So a lot of the day is responding to emails. I work on WhatsApp a lot so that I can multitask. And so the day is and then reviewing reports, maybe a few proposals here and there, looking at the KPIs to see how best we can improve, looking at our strategy documents all the time to see where we are falling short, what it is we have to do next. Very few fiscal meetings now, but a lot of Zoom meetings are happening, and phone meetings as well, because I don't know why still people say, Kojo, you do office, can I come and see you? I don't know why they still say that, but yeah, it's pretty much everything is online, email, WhatsApp, Zoom.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So former managing director of CalBank, Mr. Frank Addae, once stated that the banking sector does not endear itself to the public. You work with Data Bank. What is Data Bank doing differently to stay ahead of the competition in the market?
You see, yes. I think I recall that comment my senior Frank made, and at that time I'm not sure technology had endeared itself in the financial services industry to the extent it has now. And so I think he had a point. But this is what I will say about endearing ourselves to clients and what Data Bank is doing. For starters, it's about what governance structure we've put in place here. Because without that governance structure, you will not exist even to be able to endear to your clients. So the governance is strong. And again, when Frank was saying what he said, I'm not sure the financial crisis had hit and the BOG hadn't come out with all the reports that pointed to the fact that governance in the financial services industry was a problem. But number one pillar, the governance strong. Our various products all have independent boards. We have independent directors as well. I told you, somebody like Ken has no business here at all. He doesn't bother coming here to do anything. I don't even see him. People think that every morning I sit down with him at table to write Ghana's budget. It's not true. I don't even see him or talk to him or anything of that nature. So please, the people, I'm an employee. I'm an employee. So I'm not one who goes there like that. So that's one. Two, to endear really is the product mix and the options that now clients have. Back in the day, banks will be telling clients what they think they need. That's what banks were doing. Banks would go and design the products they think the customer needs and foist it on the customer. That is not endearing to the customer. We should research the other way around and try and find out what product the client needs, what service the client needs, and you design and amend your systems to that. If you recall, I don't know how long you've been doing banking. Sometimes you go to your bank and you say you want something done this way or that way. They'll say their policy says no. So no.
Yes.
Instead of, okay, let's go back and think, how can we design our policy to meet Rep. Eskin's request? Because that is what he wants. Let's do what they want. So I think at Data Bank, our product mix is quite diverse to meet all the different needs of the clients, but we are still developing more products because we are still researching and talking to them, and they are telling us what they really want, you know. Then I think the third final pillar of what we are doing to be ahead of competition and dear to the clients is the technology. And today I'm very proud to say we started our technology drive like 3 years ago. It's as if we looked in the crystal ball and knew COVID will come. So last year, before the president was locking down, we were ready. I mean, we were ready to operate 100% from home. So on the technology front too, I think there's still work in progress, but we've done a great deal to the extent that I can confidently and proudly say that you can start to open an account and transact everything you want to do with DataBank without necessarily walking to a physical branch. You can open an account, deposit, withdraw, inquire, whatever it is you want, you can do it on our various digital channels. And if you go onto our website, all the options are there.
What in your experience, right, an opinion, would you describe as the biggest challenge investment firms face here in Ghana?
I think our biggest
whenever the
challenge,
word investment comes up, people get scared.
I know. I know. I know. So maybe I'll answer your question in twofold. Okay. Let's assume, let's go pre-crisis. Let me answer your question pre-crisis and post-crisis. All right.
And then post-crisis. Okay.
Yeah, pre-crisis. Look, investment banking and fund management and the like has been in Ghana just as long as DataBank has been in Ghana, 30 years.
Has been in operation.
We were instrumental in even establishing the stock exchange. DataBank is even older than the stock exchange. Do you get me? Banking, normal commercial banking has been with us for over 120 years, 120 something years. Yet still, the normal banking penetration, I'm not sure has exceeded 20%. I don't know what the statistics, the latest statistics are. So how much more us? People don't have a clue what we do. I'm sure 90% of the population of Ghana don't have a clue. If you ask them, do you know of DataBank? I'll be even lucky for them to say yes. And do you know what we do? So our side of the financial services there, they don't, that is our biggest challenge. It's huge. And even in the, when you come to fund management, and we are trying to tell them what investment banks do in fund management, like mutual funds and the like, still they don't get it. They'll ask you, I have 500 cities in 3 months, how much will I get? That is still the question that they ask. So our biggest challenge is to educate Ghanaians to understand what it is we do, what it is we are here for, what the capital market is all about, what are shares, what are mutual funds, what are treasury bills, what are bonds, all that, for them to understand that these are the things you can come and invest in. Even normal banking, they struggle to go and be confident enough to put their money there, let alone us. So there's a lack of understanding, huge. And at DataBank, we are not afraid to still spend money to educate people and continue the advocacy. It's cost that may not necessarily bring direct income, but I think it's still worth doing, and we'll continue to do it. Then to your other question, when you mention investment. So even normal banking people are afraid to go and put their money there because they are not sure. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how young you are, but people were not putting their monies in banks because banks have collapsed before in the 80s. Bank for Housing and Construction and Cooperative Bank and Meridian BIO. I'm young, but I'm young at heart, but I have a few grays, So I've seen it. I've seen it before. Then, just as confidence was coming, fund management companies were picking up, SNLs were coming up, microfinance, everything, blam, 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 blam. Then boom, people have lost money. So our second biggest challenge now is even when the person understands what your company does, and now you have to convince them to come and put money there to invest, it's another whole wahala.
The trust is lost.
It is gone. It's an extremely, they've made our already difficult life more difficult. But we don't despair. We don't despair at all. Last 2 years, fake news was coming through. People were like, hey, they said they'll close data bank. I don't know if you heard it. I said, guys, relax. We follow the law as much as we can. When they come, if they want the money, give them the money, because you've invested it in the right asset class. Go and sell it and give them the money. Once they see that, oh, when I want my money, I'll get it, then the confidence comes. So that's one strategy to your question, that you don't try and prevent somebody from taking their money when they want to. Otherwise, they start being suspicious, like, hey, why? Then two, we educate. You see, as you don't rush to make a sale. You have to educate and let the people understand what they are buying into. Because some of the issues that happened was because the people who didn't even understand what product they were buying into. A friend said, oh, so and so company, they do well. Oh, I took my money last, I got this return, so go and put it there. You won't ask questions. You don't even know who is behind the company. You don't know those who are running it, what their experience is, how long they've been there, what governance structures they have. All those things are extremely important for you to know. And we would educate and give the client confidence before you onboard. That way, once you're on board, you know you have somebody who you are confident with. But
that's true.
Honestly speaking, the crisis hasn't helped us at all. It has eroded the little confidence and trust we had put in people, and we are having to start all over again. But we are not perturbed at all. It's work that we are doing very, very strongly.
And I mean, I wish you guys the best. It's a very heavy fought, but I know we'll definitely get there. It's not an easy task. I won't even lie.
Not at all. Try. Look,
crisis,
you know, and
crisis
Rev, Rev, this is you see, when you are in a bank, and me, I have the advantage of having worked on both places. When you are working in a bank, people's salaries come through, right? So you know that some deposits will come through because salaries will come through. And people are exporting and importing. Some payments will come through. Somebody has to transfer money to a company in China or something. So transfer will come through. But with us, Rev Eskin has to sit down, talk to himself, and think about and make a decision that I am taking out X% of my money and I'm bringing it to data bank. It's not easy. And be confident that when he wants his money back, he will get it. It's an extremely difficult job. But my team, I'm proud of them. They are solid. And I believe we are teaching them with the right skills or giving them the right tools to do the right thing.
You touched on financial literacy along the line. I think that being one of the things Ghanaians lack. One of the contributing factors to the fact that people will just wake up and follow mere hearsay, word of mouth. Okay, a friend invested with this bank or this company and they are doing good, as you mentioned. I mean, they are giving huge dividends. And so let's go invest our money in there. In your opinion, what is the average Ghanaian's biggest challenge with achieving financial independence and financial literacy? In the first two things, knowing about their finances and being independent with their finances. What has been the biggest challenge? Have we not educated them enough? Is it not a part of our upbringing or what?
Yes, I think you've hit the nail right on the head. Education, there's a lot of ignorance and lack of knowledge there, a lot. Upbringing is also a major factor. We are not brought up with a good enough savings culture. Even where we've been brought up with a savings culture, it's like, you know, the piggy bank type savings culture. And at the end of the day, maybe you open up your piggy bank and then you go and buy something instead of investing it to get compounding interest, and knowing that you have to, it's lack of knowledge. You have to have different investment accounts for different purposes. You know, we just mix and match everything. You want to build a house, you have some account. You want to buy a car, you have some account. You want to educate your child, you have some. You've put all into one, and you are never able to achieve what it is, the targets that you have. You have to break your targets into separate boxes into separate boxes, and know that this one is for this and be consistent with this. Know that this one is for that and be consistent with that. Otherwise, you end up not trying to do everything and then not doing anything at all. But there's a lot of lack of knowledge, and I feel the onus is on people like us to really go out there and be doing the education. And investing is a habit. So I always advise that you don't need, and I'm sure we had that conversation before, but you don't need to start with millions. Investing is a habit. To achieve financial independence is not an overnight process. It's a lifetime process. So you are not waiting to earn some big boom before you start. No matter how small it is you are earning, you can start. And I always have a mantra for, especially, Christians. Majority of Ghanaians are Christians, but if you can tithe, then you can invest. There's no doubt in my mind. You tithe 10% of your income. Your income that you said was too small, you're able to tithe it. So why can't you invest 10% as well, of that? And you do it consistently. The secret to financial independence is not the amount you are putting aside, but the consistency with which you are putting it aside. Look, you got a job at age 30. You retire at age 60. That is 30 years of putting something aside for the future. 30 years. Then you retire at 60, you live till 90. So your working life is as long as your retirement life. And we don't look at it that way. We don't look at it that way at all. Sometimes you think that when you're 61, or then you pop off, or your child will look after you. Reversely, your child is not coming to look after you. He's going to dump you in some old people's home and move on with his life. That's the reality that we are going to be faced with in the future. So financial independence for me is the consistency with which, if it is the 10 cedis you are putting aside, don't say, as for this month, I'm broke, or this month I had to do a CMC thing, so I will not do the investment. No. Get into the habit to the extent that, how smokers get cold turkey when they don't smoke. Get cold turkey when you don't invest. That's what I'm trying to say. Get cold turkey when you don't invest. You get me? So that's what I'll say.
Wow. I don't even know where to continue from. I feel we've learned so much in all this. I have a proposal, by the way. This was supposed to be a conversation off air, but
no problem.
Can we have a conversation and plan on an opportunity to give my listeners insight into financial literacy and financial independence? Of course, investment once a week, at least once.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot to learn from. You just mentioned something that will stay in my mind forever, and I know my listeners will pick a piece from it as well. You get a job at age 30, you work for 30 years, put aside something for the 30 years. Yes. Let's say you're strong enough to live an extra 30 years after your retirement at 60. That's 90. The 30-year savings or the 30-year investment will actually ensure that you have a smooth 30 years, whether somebody takes care of you or not.
Or not, yes. And that's the independence you need. You don't need to then rely on friends, family, relatives, your child, and you are patching, you don't have a place to stay, all that. I didn't bring the numbers, but if you want to make $1 million at age 60, and the average return is 15% per annum, and you are 25 years old, you need 89 cedis a month to achieve that $1 million.
Wow.
Did you hear me? You are 25 years old. You want $1 million at age 60 with an average return of 15% per annum. All you need to put aside every month is 89 cedis. I know people are talking inflation and depreciation. Let's forget that for a moment. What I want to sink in is how little you need to put aside every month the earlier you start. Now at age 30, that number doubles to about 190 or 185. Every 5 years, the number doubles. So the longer you wait and think that life begins at 40, the more difficult you are making it for yourself to be financially independent. Yeah,
wow.
Ask them, are they listening? I saw that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not a joke. It's not a joke. And the reason why Ghanaians, we get so duped easily is we've waited for so long. We wake up one fine morning, we are 50 years old, and we realize that, hey, I'm about to retire or lose my job. So now suddenly you want 40% return, 50% return. It's not sustainably realistic. But because you are so hot and somebody went and did it and got it in 3 months, you follow. By the time it was your turn, the company had crashed. It's not sustainably.
So let's say we've learned from all this you've said, all right? I'm ready to put aside 8 to 9 Ghana cedis or whatever amount out of my salary I have. I tithe. The habit of investment is something I'm interested in. How does one identify the right investment opportunity? That has been a question too. How do you identify which one is the right way to invest? Just so we don't become victims, even though we had the right attitude towards investment.
Very good question, Rev. I think this is probably one of the most important questions that you've asked for this. And I'm going to stick to what I know and to what we do here. So I'm going to stick to financial assets, to mutual funds and bills and bonds and stuff like that. That's what I'll stick to. And some people listening to us may be asking themselves, oh, how about real estate? How about farming? How about all other types of investments? I'm not an expert in that, so I won't even pretend to. I get to ask that question, is real estate good? I'm not a real estate guru, so I can't advise you on real estate, and I won't pretend to advise you on real estate. But what I know, though, is the financial assets we have, the mutual funds and etc. Before you make a decision on what investment you make, you have to know what your risk tolerance is. People don't even check what their risk tolerance is. How much risk are you prepared to take? Do you know how much risk you are prepared to take? So, Rev, you bring 100 cedis to data bank, yeah? And I invest it in product A. And then a year later, you come to me and I tell you that, oh, the product that we invested in is a high risk product. So, and it's meant to be long term. So your 100 cedis that you brought now is worth 95 cedis.
Yes.
Or it's less. So, and if you then now the test is, if you tell yourself, oh, when I was coming, the guys explained everything to me and told me that this is a long-term high risk product. It can go up. So that 1 year it could have been 110 or it could have been 95. But when you came and it was 95, and you panicked and started throwing tantrums and saying, data bank, if you chop my money, you people, you are cheats. And we've seen that. I'm not talking stories. I'm talking real life experience here.
Yes.
That will mean that, Rev, your risk tolerance is extremely low. You bought into the wrong product. You have the right attitude, but you bought the wrong product because you didn't ask yourself the right questions and determine what your own risk profile is. If you told yourself, this thing has gone down, but I'll still wait more and see how it goes, it's likely your risk tolerance is medium. But if you say, oh, me, I'm not phased, the thing you explained, I agree, it's 95 today. Hopefully next year to even be 120, I'll wait. Then your risk tolerance is high and you have bought into the right product. So you see, when you go into a firm to try and buy a product, do not be in a hurry to say, what's the best product? Give me the best and let me go. Take your time and ask yourself what your risk tolerance is. So if you have a high risk tolerance, then you can go in for high risk assets or high risk products like shares, like EPAC. Because shares, tomorrow you go and buy stock A on the stock market, the price is 10 cedis. Tomorrow it drops to 8 cedis. Another day it drops to 5 cedis. The next day it shoots to 15 cedis. I'm sure you've seen what's happening on the US stock market,
Yes.
Exactly. So those things happen, But if you are medium term, then you can balance a bit of shares here and a bit of bonds here, a bit of T-bills here. Then you know what it is. But if your risk tolerance is low and you are not the type who wants to lose any money at all, you want to see your money always growing, then you stick to the low risk ones like Treasury bill. You know that is government backed, like M Fund, Data Bank M Fund. You know that is all bills and bonds, mostly government of Ghana. It's likely that the return will not be as sweet as you want it, but at least the risk is low and you get your money back. So and then apart from even the product, even the company you are going in, you can even ask who are the regulators. Sometimes we go and invest in a company and you don't even know who the regulator of the company is. Ask the people, who is your regulator? Then they'll tell you either it's Bank of Ghana or Securities and Exchange Commission or National Pensions and Regulatory Authority or National Insurance Commission. It could be any of those regulators. You can even pick up a call and call the regulator and say, hey, I've gone to so and so company, I want to invest in them. They say you are their regulator. Is it true? You can ask. Yeah, is it true? They will not answer if you ask them, are they safe? That one day, I'm sure they will avoid it. But is it true that they are their regulator? Yes. Then you can go back. You know, and I give you credit, honestly, on this your program. You researched me big time. Nobody called me to ask me my background, anything, but you clearly know me very well. So if you have been able to research me so well for your job, why can't you research the company you are going to invest in so well for your money, the money that you've sweated to earn? So investigate the company, know your risk tolerance, understand the product before you make a decision. But talk to a professional.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for all the tips on financial literacy and that. So still on your life, apart from investment and sports, obviously, education is also one of your passions, all right? Yeah. Briefly, because of time, tell us about the Changing Lives Endowment Fund and the main motivation behind the establishment of this fund.
Okay, very quickly. It's just a group of us who used to play football together. Who after football we sit down, we chat, and then we started saying, look, we keep complaining about issues in Ghana. Why don't we do something about it? What can we do about it? And back in the day, me, Ankuma, Dusa Kodie, Yaon Sako, Yao Bene, Upiemisa, Tony Akwitia. There were about 6 or 7 of us, Sena Siao, Boating, and then we said, look, come on. With education is probably the only thing we can do to pull somebody out of poverty. If you give somebody a handout, it is just a temporary relief. But if we educate that person, we stand a chance of permanently removing that person from poverty. And when we started out by eliminating urban poverty was even our focus. Urban poverty is even worse than rural poverty. Urban poverty has affluence around you, and you are in urban, you are poor, and you see this affluence around you. It's crazy. Rural poverty, it has poverty around you, so it's not that bad. But urban poverty was.
It's not a peculiar feeling.
Yeah. So very quickly, we just got together, and it was all money from our pockets. Back in the day, this was in 2007, long ago. So we had time. We were doing the legwork ourselves. I went to Aquinas, I went to Accra Girls, Hot Cars, I was interviewing. When you go to the counseling and placement center and you talk to them, they will tell you the students that are needed, the students that need help. Then you interview them. Most of them, you even get their parents, nothing. So when we started out, the focus was SHS, just to try and get them educated out of SHS. But as we went along, we realized that they finished SHS and they still come and sit in front of you and say, I've qualified for university, so now what? It was very difficult. But it was just personal money from us, but we registered it formally and all. At a point, we were all scattering, people are leaving, we're too busy, it slowed down a bit. But we used Yalbene's secretariat to still keep it going. And we kept going. And now that it was free SHS came through, it's like the SHS focus has shifted a bit. We have to re-strategize. Educating at the university level was becoming very expensive. So as the years was going by, we were getting less and less beneficiaries because the money we were having is all our personal money. We get a few donations here and there. Geodrill, I remember, used to donate to us, and then we'll educate, and pay the bills and all that. So that's really what Changing Lives was all about. We still have a few beneficiaries on board. I think currently there are about 3 or 4, but over the years, I think we've crossed about 40 beneficiaries. Some have married, given birth, invited us to their weddings. Look, it's so rewarding when you helped somebody out and they wouldn't have finished school, but just because of something small you put into their lives,
so you did.
They managed to do it. So that's what it is. We need to revive it. I mean, I was talking to the other day that Now that the free SHS has come through, we need to re-strategize and see which area we target, whether we drop to JSS or we move up into tertiary.
That's a very good thing. I mean, I have to commend your team for that. But YFM is Ghana's #1 youth urban station. I mean, we hold the youth, and so if you need help in terms of pushing the agenda, we're here. I mean, we can pick up the conversation after.
I totally agree.
How we can
I think we need,
as well.
I totally agree. We will do that. We need to put our house in order a bit. We were solid. I mean, we have our website has gone quiet and all, but everybody got pulled away, and we were all trying to do it ourselves. But we became so busy. But we'll restart it and revive it. But it's still there. It's just that it's not as vibrant as it was between 2007 and say 2012. Yeah.
Anyways, so beyond your duties as group chief, executive officer of Data Bank, and your engagement on TV and on radio, and of course your love for Formula One and that, on the side, do you ever find time to indulge in a bit in some relaxing activities? Do you like music? Do you watch movies? Do you sing? Yeah. What do you do on the side?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, pre-COVID, I'll play football all the time. I mean, there was no Saturday that passed without playing football and sitting and chatting with the guys. And I love partying. As for, there's no drink up, you invite me, that I won't go. But now I've stopped going to them. I used to watch movies a lot. And during lockdown, I became a bit addicted to Netflix, but now I've gone off it again. I listen to music a lot, but I do steel pulse. I love listening to steel pulse all the time. I mean, that's what I if I'm traveling and driving on my own, you are rest assured that it will be steel pulse that will be playing. I still play squash. I haven't played in about 3 weeks. With a surge, I slow down a bit, but I think next week I'll start again playing squash.
You might resume to it. Kojo, thank you so much. Kojo Addae-Mensah is Group CEO, Data Bank Ghana. I mean, he shared a lot with us. I think, truth is, I still have a few more questions. This might have to be the first interview, which I'm actually calling for a rematch, a reround.
No
like
problem.
Part 2.
I'll be available.
So, we can share some more because there's still a lot of things that we need to find out from you. But I mean, the few that you shared with us, we're super grateful. We love it, and we pray and wish you the best. I mean, YFM GMA, the entire team, production team for Y Leaderboard teams, we love to see people like you look out for themselves, and in the course of looking out for themselves, work for the nation and the young ones. People love to grow. People love to grow into figures that you guys have gotten to. But the know-how is the issue. People don't share their experience. And so if anyone takes their time and takes time off their busy schedule to spend an hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours with us every week, it means a lot to us. It means a lot to all our listeners. And so I want to use this opportunity to say a big thank you. Final question I want to ask you, by the way, is how you measure success personally. Success by Kojo Addae-Mensah, or success according to the gospel of Kojo Addae-Mensah?
Really? Woo! Success for me, it's really achieving what you set out to do, but achieving it not by trampling on people and being corrupt and doing it the crooked way. That's not what it means to be successful. And the fact that you see somebody in a flashy car, that doesn't mean that the person is necessarily successful. It could be an inheritance. So just note that. But success is actually achieving what you have set your mind to do and achieving it in the right way. So success means different things to different people, and there's no one hard and fast rule about it. There are some people who are content that they became like a clerk at the bank or something like that. And if that is the definition of their success, and they are comfortable with it, and they are happy, and they are doing it the best of their ability, and they are the best at what they do, no problem. Somebody's success too is to become president of the country. But please, in getting to become president of the country, don't do it by backbiting, and hitting everybody left, right, center, and pulling everybody down to get to the top. That's not what success is.
Kojo, thank you so much. God bless you for your time.
God bless you too.
I'd like to use this opportunity to say a big thank you to the lady that did the testing with us yesterday.
She's called Gillian. She's called Gillian Hammer. She's my chief marketing officer, and she's
All
the
right.
most painful person to work with on earth.
So we caught a bit of your conversation with her before the interview started. That's some good work. I mean, she put in so much, so I'm sure we have a good time today.
She's listening to this. She's going to look at the recording. And Reveskin, to the youth out there, I'm going to get my criticisms. She's going to analyze this interview. She's going to critique it so that if there's part 2, I will not make the mistakes that I've made in part 1. So I still learn. I don't think that I've arrived yet. So we are always learning. That's how it is. Don't be afraid to be criticized.
Get back to your busy day. Thank you so much once again. To your entire team, Data Bank, to your production team, thank you so much. We appreciate this once again. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you very much.
This is YFM.